I was in New York earlier this week and I still have a vlog coming out soon. I'm still working on that. But I wanted to make this video specifically about my experience going to see Kelly and Mark live, just for anyone else who was considering doing this. And I always like to check out reviews before I do something, and I saw written reviews, but I didn't see anyone do like any video reviews. So here is my experience. So I was going to New York City. I was like, oh my gosh, they film so many talk shows out there. So at first I want to do like a late night show. Like they have Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and a few other people there. Unfortunately, I only had like a week's notice before I was going to New York, and all these shows were booked out for at least 3 to 4 weeks for the nighttime shows. So I went and looked to see if I could get into a daytime show. They had The View, the Tamron Hall show, the Kelly Clarkson show, and I was going to try all those shows. I don't really watch those shows like on a daily basis or anything like that, but I just wanted to go for the experience, and all those shows were sold out, unfortunately. But they did have tickets available for the Kelly and Mark show live. So I went ahead and got me a ticket for that. It was really easy. I got it off this website called One Auto. You can see it typed on the top of here. So I went ahead and went. I woke up early that morning, and if you are a ticket holder that I got from this website, then you're supposed to show up between 7:15 and 8 p.m. for the 9 o'clock show. So I went ahead and woke up early. I was going to take a Lyft, but the Lyfts were so expensive in New York. It was like $50 there and back from my hotel. So I decided to take the subway. It only took me about 20 minutes from the subway. I showed up and there was a really long line, and at first I thought this was the line I needed to be at, but this was actually the line for The View, because they film a lot of the same shows in the same building or right next door. So they had The View next door, and then they're like, no, you're supposed to be in this line over here for the Kelly and Mark show. So I went over and nobody was in line. Everybody had already went inside because I showed up like at 7:45, like 15 minutes before they stopped taking people inside, I believe. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I come too late? Because originally I wanted to be one of the first people in line at like 7:15. But the subway took a little longer than I thought, so I showed up, and this is all the shows that they film here. They filmed Good Morning America, 2020. I went ahead and I got this green wristband that they gave me, and they told me I could go inside. And that's where everyone else was waiting, and they have all kinds of pictures of all the different people who work there. There's Kelly and Mark. There's the people from The View right there. They have different guests that have came over the years and pictures. I showed up at about 7:45 and I was the 125th person in line. I was in the very back row, so I believe there's probably like a handful of seats left. So I made it just at the nick of time. So these are all the different pictures. You can pause and look at them if you want to. This was the ABC building with all its different studios in there, so they had pictures from all their different ABC shows. So after they took us to the back, they take us to this back area with all these pictures, and there was a bathroom right behind us, which was great for me because I have to pee a lot when I get nervous. So they all lined us up in numerical order, and we all had to stand for like probably a good 40 minutes before the show started. But this one dude was super smart. He brought himself a lawn chair and he was sitting down while in line, which I'm like, damn, if I ever go back again, I need to bring me a lawn chair. That dude came prepared. So finally, they put us into the studio. They all sat us down. And since I was one of the last people through the door, unfortunately, I got in the back row. And that's another reason why I wanted to come early. And so we all sit down. We sit there for about 5-10 minutes. A producer comes out and does clapping exercises with everyone and teaches us how to clap and how to cheer. And then they have this thing that they teach you, like, you know, the best kind of clap. And to make your clap really loud, you want to clap as fast as possible. So they all had us practice clapping as fast as possible. And it's actually true. It makes the clap sound loud as hell. So within minutes, they're like, okay, guys, the show is going to start.
60th celebration happening now in Anaheim, California. Let Park and Disney California Adventure Park. Enjoy the return.
So the show starts off with them sitting down, sharing some updates on what's going on with their life and some popular things that they feel like are worth talking about. Then they have their co-host, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but she spins the trivia wheel and she does the announcements going into the commercials. She went ahead and announced the next segment where they're going to have someone call in from home and they were going to do trivia. So they do their whole stump Mark thing where someone calls in from home and they sit there and tell Mark two things about themselves, and one is true and one is false, and Mark has to guess which one is true. This was a new studio they just moved in, and it was so cool because once they did the Summer Splash trivia, it was so cool. All the floor and the walls turned into water. They had little animated sharks on the ground. I just thought this was so cool. So they go ahead and do the Stump Mark segment. Mark got the question wrong, and then if he gets it wrong, they have a chance to like go on a bonus round, and they ask the audience member from home a question, and if they get it right, then they win whatever prize. And the prize they had for that day was like a trip to Disney World worth over $8,000, which is a pretty penny, and the girl ended up winning it, so congratulations to her. Then they went on commercial break. Kelly and Mark walked up to the audience and started conversations with the audience, which I thought that was really cool. They were giving audience members advice. She was signing books. And then they had this girl come out, and she has been in Mission Impossible in the past, and she filmed for the new Mission Impossible movie. She shared her experience with filming and working with Tom Cruise. This is Kelly and Mark talking with her on the commercial break before their segment started. And then their segment started, and it was really short and quick. I was surprised how quick their little guest sessions are. Like, I swear, it's probably maybe 3 to 5 minutes tops. Then they brought out this other girl, and she has been on the show. I want to say they were saying she was on White Lotus. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but her name is Haley Atwell, and Megan Faye was the name of the girl on Mission Impossible. The interviews were short and sweet, and then they started setting up for Low Cash to play, which was honestly exciting for me because I listened to them all the time on the radio, and I had no idea that they were going to be there. So they set up, and they got all their music equipment ready, and they just started playing, and they did a fantastic job. This was by far one of my favorite parts that they did. They sang the Hometown Home song that they're most famous for, and it felt like you're just at a concert. So they went ahead and sang that song. Then afterwards, they did one more song. I don't recognize the second song. I'll have to look it up and see if I can remember what the name of it was, but it was good too. And then they didn't like how their take was for the second song, so they went ahead and redid it. Those are just parts that you don't see make the final cut. And that's what I was wondering. I'm like, okay, how many takes do they do on some of these segments? But the only part that I saw they had to retake was one of the songs that Low Cash did. And then, so after the song ended, Kelly and Mark sat there and talked to them for maybe like a minute or so. They ended the show, and then they told us we could leave. So everyone starts getting up and starting to leave. And then they said, if you want to, you can stay for the second show. And I was planning to go to the Diddy trial, but I'm like, hey, this was actually quick. The show in itself maybe was maybe 45 minutes to an hour tops that I was in there. I don't even feel like I was in there that long. It really felt like 30 minutes. Time went by so fast. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and stay because they're offering me a spot in the very front row. And I was sitting way back here on top for the first show. And I'm like, okay, yeah, for the experience, I got to go ahead and sit for the second show. So they sat us down. And the second show, it was cool, but it wasn't as exciting. So the first show we did was filmed Monday, May 19th live. And then the second show was filmed for Thursday, May 23rd. They let me stand on the stage while they were sitting everybody down. So I took advantage of that to take some pictures of the whole experience. And then they sat us down in the front row.
Yeah, what's she gonna do?
Well, she was filming and like screenwriting. So.
Oh, great. Be like, then you can be the queen.
I thought thought it was really cool that Kelly and Mark came up and talked to the audience before the show started and in between commercial segments. They're both super friendly. Kelly was giving people advice. She was talking and signing books. I couldn't believe how small she is in person. Like, I knew she was a small person, but in person, she's probably like 4'11", 90 pounds tops. But she's very beautiful in person, very friendly. Mark is the same exact way. They have a lot of chemistry together in person. I just think they're so cute together. Then they film these segments, I guess, like they do for commercials, where they're like, oh, Kelly and Mark coming from you at Houston. So we got to watch them film this. The second episode seemed even shorter than the first one, but that's because they didn't really have any guests come or any musicians come and play like they did for the first episode. They did this little part where they did all their intros that they're going to use for different segments. And then they talked about like how people are getting married younger, and no, I think they said people are getting married older. And they talked about how the sweet spot to get married nowadays is between 25 and 30. And then they talked about a few other things I can't remember. And then they had a shopping girl come in that showed them all these different products, like that green hat you saw Kelly wearing. That's one of the products that they were showing. So it was a shopping day where they're just telling customers, like, you can scan this QR code from home on the screen and shop any of these products. And after they did the shopping segment, I think they did like one more segment between Kelly and Mark, and then they called it a day. So overall, my final thoughts, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, but I would have been disappointed if I came to the second show because it just wasn't a lot besides watching them show off some products. The first episode, I feel like that was the bread and butter. That made the whole trip worth it. I mean, the second episode was still cool, and being close to Mark and Kelly and being able to interact with them and being able to see everything up close and personal. But if you're going to go to New York City and go to this show, I would recommend getting tickets for the very first show, because that's where you're likely going to see celebrities, you're likely going to see a musician appearance, and I just thought the first show was so much better. But if you do have the chance to sit through the second show, I would definitely take advantage of that too. Overall, everything was done within a couple hours, and then I went and got myself some barbecue. I was not happy with this barbecue at all because I'm from the barbecue capital, Kansas City. And I was just having trouble eating much of anything because I had this nervous energy because I was traveling alone. And just when I travel sometimes, like, I get this high anxiety and it takes me a few days to get over. So I went back and I got on the subway, and then I went back to my hotel and I got ready. I went to the Diddy trial. Check out my video on that if you haven't already. But that's it, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below.